I'm just going to give it 1 minute here because there's still more people dropping in. As we can hear the doorbell, people are at the door. Great to see so many amazing folks on the call today. Hi, Jackie. Perfect. Yeah, folks are still rolling in. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I genuinely love being in our virtual space together, and we're so happy because today, some of you may know, but we have the NSLI 230 Nonprofit Communications class, which is this Growing Nonprofit series is part of their course lecture, one of our course lectures. So welcome to NSLI 230 students and to our community partners who are here for the chance to learn and grow together. And one of our goals of the NBSSN program is to bring folks all together into the same space. So we're really glad to have the chance to come together, particularly around such a wonderful topic. And we have so many great community leaders in the room, on the call, and a few of them leading our session today. So thank you all for being here. My name is Colleen Strau. I'm the director of the Nonprofit and Voluntary Sector Studies Network at Luther College at the University of Regina. And my work revolves around supporting the nonprofit sector. I should say I have the great pleasure of being able to do this work because so many of my mentors and leaders that really inspire my work are here with us. So I'm humbled and grateful to have the opportunity to do this work and to do this work on Treaty 4 territory. And the homeland of the traditional lands of the Nehewak, Anishinaabeg, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And I want to, as always, start our Growing Nonprofit series by honoring the relationships that Indigenous people have with the land and commit to continuing to learn from Indigenous ways of knowing as we work towards more just and sustainable communities. And I also want to recognize the Saskatchewan Community Foundation that supports the Growing Nonprofit series. It's a partnership that we have to create spaces for learning and connection for folks in the sector. So we're grateful to the Saskatchewan Community Foundation for their support and to everybody here again. So we're gonna kind of just get started. It looks like most people have come in. So I'm thrilled to have the chance to partner with StratLab on this session today, as well as the Regina Sexual Assault Center. We have Julia and Saher and Brandon from StratLab. And I think most of you have probably seen StratLab's work or attended some of their events as well. StratLab is one of those organizations in our community that prides itself on making real connections, and I think that really shines. They've also done a lot of work to support the nonprofit sector, including a conference that they ran last year. So I think that's probably as how most of you kind of know them, either through communication or just kind of their leadership and work that they've done in community. They really value real people and real connections, as well as the empowerment through education. And that's kind of what brings them here today, is to kind of teach us some tools that we can use in website and marketing. And so we're really grateful to have those leaders in our community who do great work and are really passionate and interested in supporting the nonprofit sector. So without further ado, I think have I missed anything, Lynn? Anything you want to add? Lynn is teaching the NSLI 230 class. So she's technically the lead of all of this, but I have the pleasure of co-leading the session today. So thank you, Lynn, for all your hard work. And anything else you want to add?
No, just I echo what you say, Colleen, that this is a really wonderful opportunity for the students, and anyway, I've encouraged the students, to reach out and try to network with many of the people that from the community that are here, because this is, I wish we were all together in a room. It makes it a lot easier to network, but hopefully we can learn together today, and thank you
Yeah,
so much to to Julia and Brandon and Sahar. Like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, so who should I pass it to first? Sahar, right?
Yes, I
Perfect.
can get started.
Sounds
Well, thank you all for being here. I'm Sahar. I'm basically the marketing strategist and social media manager here at Strategy Lab. I've been with Strategy Lab for over almost 3 years now, and I just absolutely love social media. It's not what I took in university, but it was something that I eventually got into, and I've just been in the social media world for over 5 years now. I'm just going to share my screen, so just 1 second. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, perfect. So for today's workshop, we're going to talk about some social media analytics, and we're going to use Regina Sexual Assault Center as the case study. So I will basically focus on everything on the back end for social media, and then Brandon, he's going to talk about the website stuff. So for this session, I'll just get straight into it. I'm quickly going to talk about what social media analytics really are and what they're not, why they matter, what are some key metrics to know and what they actually mean? And then we'll head to the favorite part, my favorite part, which is the live demo, in which I'm going to talk about how we can compare data, how we can find out who our current audience is using RSAC as an example, and then how to make sense of the numbers that we're seeing in the back end. I'm also going to teach you a little trick using AI and how you can use it to interpret some of the metrics. And then towards the end of the session, I'm just going to talk about how you can apply these insights to future content. If you have any questions at any moment, feel free to interrupt me, unmute yourself, write questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything. You're not bothering me. All right, so let's get right into it. So, what social media analytics really are and what they're not. So, social media analytics essentially are numbers that show how people interact with your content. There's a common misconception where people think that social media metrics, they're a measure of your organization's value or impact. It's not. They're basically numbers that show us if what we're doing is working or not. If the way that we're communicating with our online audience, is it working or not? What feedback are they giving us that we can use to implement in our future posts? Um, they're also not a judgment of success or failure. They can help you understand what's happening on just the online the analytics, because my goal after this class is you're comfortable with how you can use it to help your organization communicate better. And obviously, social media analytics are not something that you should be checking every single day. It really depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to get out of it. And we'll talk about this later in the presentation as well. So, why analytics matter for nonprofits or even for regular organizations? Um, in my career, I've heard many sayings like, we should be posting every day to show that we are active. I've even heard, let's make a graphic post for this instead. This post did not perform well as it did not get any likes or many likes. Short videos are the only thing we should do. Let's just do reels, let's not do anything else. I've also heard our followers aren't mostly other organizations, not people that we're trying to reach. So, to all of these sayings, normally this is my reaction because all of these are just assumptions. And that is why I love analytics, because I can challenge these assumptions. So, why analytics matter is you can challenge these assumptions and actually give them evidence that no, our audience isn't just old people, it's also young people. And here's why, based on the evidence, the audience we're seeing behind the scenes. And they reveal engagement beyond just likes. For nonprofits, especially like Regina Sexual Center, there are some posts that we share that are a bit sensitive, and people normally do not react to it in terms of likes or comments. but they do share it with their friends or family, or they save it so they can look at it later on. So it's not just about how many likes you're getting, it's about the impact it's making, and you can see all those numbers behind the scenes. Obviously, they support intentional content choices. You're not just posting for the sake of posting. You're actually seeing what's working behind the scenes, and then you're doing more of that. And that's why these analytics matter so much. And they create clarity without pressure. You don't have to be posting every single day, and the numbers can show that, because if people are unfollowing you with you posting every day, it means we need to change the strategy up a bit. Okay, so what are the key metrics and what do they actually mean? So here are some of the key metrics in my live demo that I'm going to talk about. So I just thought it would be a great idea to just kind of let you guys know what they mean. Views are how many times your content was viewed. So this includes short and repeat views. What this means, if somebody is just looking at your content for a short time, even if they're not really paying attention, but they just happen to come across it, that number would be counted in this. And then also, if you're viewing the content more than once, it will also be counted in the views. Then we have the viewers and reach. This is different from views because this counts the unique accounts that people saw your content. And this number is usually estimated on Meta. And then we have the content interaction. So this is how people interact with your content in terms of likes, comments, shares, or reshares. And then we have the link clicks, which is quite self-explanatory. If people click on a link to learn more about the resources that you are trying to communicate. And then we have our visits, when people visit your profile, whether that's on Facebook and Instagram. For this session, we're only focusing on Facebook and Instagram. And then we have follows, which is obviously people who follow your account. So these are the key metrics that we will be looking at in our live demo. Before I get into my live demo, I quickly wanted to touch this topic, which is, should I track the key metrics? Because I know it can sound like a lot and overwhelming, but you don't have to track all your metrics. So I have made it easier and simplified it for you here. You just need to ask yourself, what is my goal for social media? Is it awareness? If your goal is awareness, then you should be tracking views, viewers, or reach, because this is helping you answer the question, are people actually seeing my content? Or if your goal is education, then you're tracking content interactions and views, because this is helping you answer the question, are people engaging and finding it useful? If your goal is action, then you're looking at link clicks and visits. This helps answer the question, are people taking the next step? Are people clicking the link, the donation link that we're putting in our captions? Are people actually taking that action? And then we have the fourth one, if your goal is growth, then you're tracking follows and profile visits, because this shows that people are interested in your content, they're following you, they're visiting you. You can track all the metrics if you want to, but I find that it could be overwhelming. So just asking yourself and thinking, what is my goal? And just sticking to that and only tracking those metrics. And goals can change over time as well. So this is a great decision tree to just help you understand what you should be tracking. Now we're gonna move to the live demo, which is my favorite part. All right, can everyone see the Facebook page for RSAC on screen right now? Yeah, okay. Perfect. So this is the Facebook page for Regina Sexual Assault Center. If you look at insights over here, I normally don't click this because this is just giving me the insights for Facebook. I'm interested in looking at Facebook and Instagram together, so therefore I will click Meta Business Suite over here. Once you click Meta Business Suite from the left menu, this is what shows up. All you have to do is go to Insights here. This is what we're going to work with today. I know there's a lot of tabs on the left-hand menu right now, so we're just going to be focusing on results, content, and audience for this session. As soon as you open it, you have an overview, and normally it's like numbers from the past month that Meta automatically just shows us. I normally just ignore this because whenever I'm in Meta Business Suite Analytics, I know exactly what I'm looking for, so I go directly to results. In a minute, I'll show you what that looks like. But first, let's see how you know who your audience actually is. So if you click audience right here, they show you the demographics of your current audience. So this shows the current audience for RSAC for Facebook. So it shows that they have 1,986 followers. Here are the age groups, the percentage of men and women, and then the top cities and countries that the followers are at. So more than 50% is in Regina for our Saskatoon and Moose Jaw. And then we just have some other tabs in the audience here. This again is like followers in the past month. What are the trends? We gained 4 followers. This is a decrease by 81% based on the previous year. These are again just numbers comparing it to the previous period. And then we have the potential audience, which Meta just shows could potentially turn into followers in the future as well, and just their stats over here. So this was just for Facebook. In order to see Instagram, all you have to do is click here, and then you'll see what the demographic looks like for Instagram. And then you can compare the two platforms and see where you want to, how, like if you're actually reaching your target audience or not. So that's where you find your audience. So any audience assumptions that you may hear, you can always go back to this and actually see what's happening. So now going to the results section. This is where I am most of the time. So if you see here, you have the matrix that we just talked about: views, reach, content interactions, link clicks, visits, and follows. I really like this because you can change between Facebook and Instagram. And then you can also customize the dates. What are you trying to compare? Which period are you trying to compare? And Facebook gives you all of these options. You can see analytics for the past month, the past year, or this year, last week, last month. I usually like to do custom. For this example, let's compare December 2025 to the previous year. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to see how December 2025 performed for RSAC compared to 2024. And I can do that by choosing the compare option over here. And once I click update, this is what we see for Facebook. And here are the numbers for Instagram if we were to look at that. But for now, let's just look at Facebook, let's say. Let's look at content interactions. What are these numbers telling us? What are these lines? What are these graphics? What is this decline? So basically, this is showing us that in December 2025, we had 231 content interactions, which is a decrease by 54% compared to December 2024. Now, why is this decrease happening? That's when you look at the graph. So the blue line over here represents the period you are trying to compare, which is December 2025. And then the gray line shows the previous period, which is the comparing period, which is December 2024. So let's have a look. There's a decline. I can see just by looking at this graph, something happened last year over here that's causing the number to decline. So how do I know what happened between December 21st to December 31st? It's rather than me going to the Facebook page and scrolling all the way down and seeing what I posted, I would just use the content in the left menu over here to see what happened. Before I get into the content, I just want to talk about a few limitations that Facebook and Instagram have. For example, you see there's a blue and gray line here, so you're comparing, and then you're comparing it here as well, but then there's nothing for viewers over here. That's because viewers is a new metric by Meta that they just recently introduced, so they don't have the data for the previous year. So if you see something like this, that there's no data from the previous year, it's not that there's something wrong with your Meta, it's just Meta. They keep changing up their matrix. So don't be worried. And then also, sometimes you will notice that the x-axis is all, it's a bit imbalanced. So if you see you have December 1st to 31st, this is where my graph should end. But then Meta just had added December 10, December 20. So you just ignore these numbers because they're not part of the graph, but they're just there because it's some glitch on Meta. anyways, just if you see something like this, it's completely normal. So now we wanted to know why this number was declining and what's happening over here that caused that decline. So for that, I like to open content in a new tab. So we're in content now, and we're trying to see what happened in December 2024 towards the end. Right now, as you can see, we have December 2025 in play over here. So I'm just going to click the dates, go all the way back to December 2025, sorry, 4, and see what actually happened in that month that caused that peak. So this is what it looks like. This is great because within a second, I'm able to see whatever was posted in December 2024. So you can sort this based on reach to see what the highest performing posts were in December or what the lowest performing posts were in December. You can sort it based on interactions. You can sort it based on date. For this, we're going to sort it based on date because we want to see what happened on December 21st that caused that spike. And we were looking at interactions. So now all I'm doing is seeing the interaction numbers over here on the side, and immediately I see this 346. This is more than all the numbers up top, which means the spike that was caused was due to this post. And then I see there's a rocket here, which means it was an ad, it was a boost or a boosted post. So I click it. And we can see here now that it looks like it was a donation campaign. Oops, let me move this around. And these are what the numbers look like. So the donation campaign boosted post shows that we had almost 18,000 views, 10,000 reach, 346 interactions, 19 link clicks. And now I'm like, oh, that is why my numbers for December 2025 are declining because of this ad that was done last year. So if I go back to the graph, I know what happened over here. And then now I know why this is a decrease because of the fact that we did not have an ad for December 2025. So that's something that I learned. Okay, we've learned that this decreases due to an ad, but we also want to learn something more as well from the interactions. We want to learn like what is my top performing interacted post for December 2025. I can see that something was happening on December 6, 2025 that caused a spike in interactions. So we're going to go back again to the content section. This time, instead of 2024, we're going to look at December 2025 and see what happened on December 6 that allowed us to have that spike. And the reason why we want to see what happened there is because we want to do more of that in the future, because more interactions means that people are engaging with our content. So it was in the start of the month. So I'm just going to sort the dates so that they're in ascending order. And then over here, immediately I see December 6, 971 reach and 46 interactions, and the rest are minimal. So I know that that spike was because of this post. So now I'm looking at this post to understand what it's about. So I can see here, this looks like an awareness post about gender-based violence. This just gives me the information that posts like this, people want to share with their audience just for that awareness. So I will be doing more posts like this in the future. And then you can see how it did. It got 1.6 views. You can also see who viewed it. 600 of the views were from followers, and 900, almost 1,000 of them were from non-followers, which means that this post was even reaching the audience outside of our follower base, which is really great. And then you can see the age and gender of the people as well. So this is basically how I use it. I kind of see what's happening. I see what the spikes mean through content, and then I can make informed decisions. So that was just one example. Let's have a look at views, what happened there. I'm just going to exit the live demo, go back to the slides because I just took screenshots of that to show you so it's not too confusing. Here. Again, using the same year-over-year example, comparing December 2025 versus December 2024, our goal was awareness. Let's track views this time from the Facebook platform. You already know how we got this stat. I just showed you. So what does this mean? This means that we had a total of 13,800 views, which is a decrease by 43.8% compared to last year. Why? Again, we look at the peaks. We already know what happened here, December 21st to 31st. That was due to the ad. But then there's also a peak here in views, even though there wasn't a peak in interactions. So this peak was due to an RSAC stained glass honeycomb fundraiser. What this tells me is that my audience is interested in fundraising workshops like that. So more of that in the future would make sense. So now
We have one question actually in the chat. Can I pop it in or just intervene for 1 second?
Yeah, you can let me know the question. What's the question?
It was about, it's actually from Julia. So she was wondering, so with the ad, of course, as you said, there was that peak in December 2025, and it seems like, the fundraisers for both of those years seem to cause more interest. So is it possible for organizations to increase engagement without paid ads? And do you have any
Yes.
recommendations on that?
Yes, that is correct. That's absolutely possible. The best way to do that is through giveaways. We like to do giveaways. We like partnering with local cafes in the community and doing a giveaway for that. And that normally gets us a lot of engagement. If you were to link it back to the donation campaign, I would do a giveaway, a $50 giveaway to a local cafe and say, if you donate, you will be entered to win this automatically. So that way you're not boosting it, but you're also giving back something in return and you're paying just $50 rather than spending hundreds on ads. Does that make sense? Julie, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. That is really helpful to know and understand because that is something that I've noticed from our analytics myself is the ads get a lot of engagement, but obviously sponsored ads are not always a possibility for nonprofits within that budget. So having other options to increase engagement is really helpful to know. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add on to that.
Yeah.
What is kind of a best practice is what Sahir pointed out was that our organic post in 2024 that performed really well. If you find posts that organically reach a lot of people, it doesn't hurt to do a little bit of boosting on those types of posts. Just to us, it's kind of like expanding that network even more for good content that people already engage with.
Exactly. And speaking about the ad, here is what the analytics look like for the ad. I wanted to use this as an example to show you how you can use AI to understand what's going on over here. But before we use AI, I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So if my goal for this ad, again, this is the donation ad that we just saw together through the live demo. If my goal for this ad was views, awareness, education, then I would say that this ad performed very well because we had 3,689 organic views, but just because we boosted this post, we were able to get 4 times as much views on this, which is obviously way more than what our organic views were. So, but if you look at the link clicks here, we only had 19 link clicks. So if my goal was to get people on the donation page on the website, then maybe this ad did not perform as well as I'd like it to. But if you can't understand what's going on with all of these numbers sometimes, or you don't want to think too much, chat is the perfect way to just understand what's happening. So let's use the same ad screenshot that I was just sharing with you, and I'll open ChatGPT over here. Hey chat, can you tell me if this ad did well? And then I will just attach the example. So it says, yes, this ad did well, especially for a boosted nonprofit fundraising post. Overall performance, big picture. Views, reach, it kind of summarized this awareness versus clicks, important contexts, it's again telling us that the link clicks are low, but it's not a red flag if the campaign goal was awareness or engagement. So basically what we kind of talked about, chat is just seeing that and letting us know as well. It is
There's there's a question in the chat about charitable receipts. So for giveaways, if there's like an entry to win, is there a way for organizations to provide charitable receipts for those donations? Maybe this is more for Julia, or Kate, did
Yeah.
you want to hop on I know you're well versed in the rules for all of these types of
Yeah,
things.
I can hop on, Colleen, and that was my question. You mentioned in passing using partnerships with local coffee shops and then encouraging people to enter for a chance to win. And I was just curious if you were still giving the full amount of the donation for that, and just if you are flagging that, because that can be a prize draw and things like that. So it can be a nominal benefit for receipting, and sometimes it's not. So I just wanted to flag that with you as a something to think about or chat with your fundraising staff about. I'm sure they have some background there.
Most probably don't have fundraising staff, but
And so with that, just always be very cautious, because with a chance to win, that can be a benefit, which can take away the ability to issue a charitable receipt.
Thank you.
Want to
Kate,
just
for
flag that
mentioning-
there as something to always think about when doing giveaways.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. I was going to say that we've done a couple of small things in the past where there are some benefits. And it is super important that like when we're issuing tax receipts as nonprofits, that we look at like what the benefit is versus like what is a non-benefit, because the tax receipt amount issued would sort of depend on that. So definitely something that nonprofits should be aware of. Again, we don't have a fundraising department, so we're small and we're navigating. I will say that when you give a call to the CRA helpline, I've actually found them remarkably helpful for being like a major government call line. But that is a really good way to get some of those answers if you are not sure and you don't have fundraising staff.
Thank you so much for your insights, Julia and Kate. Yes, so we were just talking about how we can use AI to kind of help interpret those matrix. Going back to my presentation, which is almost about to end, and Brandon's about to be up soon. So now that you know how you can look at the back end, see what's working, see what's not working, how can you apply these insights to feature content? So obviously, the no-brainer is obviously doing more of what's working and less of what's not working. Sometimes it's not about the content, sometimes it's also about the format. If you see that reels are performing well based on the numbers, then maybe communicating your message across in that format better. And it's all about experimenting at the end of the day, and seeing what works. And then match content to your goal always. That's why goals are very important, because you don't know if you are reaching your goals if you don't have one. So going back to the decision tree and asking yourself, okay, what is the purpose for this content? Why am I doing this? And being very intentional about why you are doing what you're doing online. And obviously checking in regularly and not constantly. I sometimes do this and I'm bad for it, but you don't have to be checking insights regularly. Just a monthly review is fine. Honestly, even quarterly is good. Or you can just view them as you need them. If you're confused about your audience, or if you're confused if a format that you think won't do well, you can just see the previous numbers and see what's working for you and what's not working for you. And hopefully this helps. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them before passing it along to Brandon, who will talk about some real life website examples. Can open this now as well. Oops. Hello?
I think we were just opening up to any questions. Any questions from the group? No?
I'm just gonna say thank you, Sahar, because actually, particularly looking at our organization's data in that practical sense, there were some considerations I hadn't had before, particularly like looking at those spikes and saying what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool to look at on like a case study basis, like we did just now, and say, oh, I could have been analyzing this data in that way. So thanks for putting together those pieces and kind of showing how you find out what works and what doesn't work in an easy way without having to like constantly scroll back and go back and forth through things. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries. I'm happy that it helped you. And if you ever have a question, anyone in the classroom, like after the presentation as well, oh, like I forgot to ask this during the presentation, you can always email us. We're always happy to help. All right, Brandon, I don't think there's any more questions, so you can get started with your real life website analytics examples.
Okay, well, thanks, Sahar. That was great. Yeah, thanks everyone for having me. My name is Brandon. I've been with the company since the very beginning. Back in 2012, we've started building websites, and I guess I should maybe start with the reason why we got into starting to build websites in the first place, which was way back in the day. One of the company I first started, we had hired a local company to build us a website, and at the time, I didn't really know that much about it. And we ended up paying thousands and thousands of dollars to have this site, which 3 months in, 6 months into owning the website, we ran into some troubles with either updating or adding new features or just changing things up. It just become very costly. So I started looking at, okay, are there better ways of building websites that are easier to update, perhaps cheaper to set up? And that's when we first started working with WordPress and helping other companies and organizations with building websites at just a way more cost-effective price point. And over the years, what we've learned is there's a lot of do-it-yourself tools out there. There's Squarespace, there's Wix, there's GoDaddy, there's all of these things, including WordPress. And so because of that, every company or organization is starting to have a website. So there's a lot more competition, including that front page of Google, if someone is searching for your product or service. So what we then kind of started thinking about is, okay, anyone can build you a website, but how do you actually build something that's actually going to help you grow your organization or generate more revenue? And so that's when we started to think about, okay, is it something that is content related, right? Is it, are people going to the website and leaving right away? Is there trust? And so what we started looking at is how do we create content? And so things like video and photography and content creation, how do we incorporate that into the website and, the overall digital strategy? And then how do we make it approachable so that, it's not costing thousands of dollars to, create a one-off video that ends up, getting played on a single campaign. Are there better or smarter ways of doing this? So what we started doing is looking at developing more of a framework. And so if you ever come across our website or any of our blog posts, what we talk about is being findable, trustable, and remarkable. So that findable piece is number one, can people find you on Google? And I want to look at this through a lens for nonprofits rather than a company because it is quite a bit different, right? So for business owners, generally people are going to, try to, their search intent is, why should I buy from you? Or I'm looking for this certain product or service. From a nonprofit standpoint, they're looking at it, let's say, can I trust you? Can you help me? I'm looking for help. Let's say, I've experienced let's say trauma or something, and I need a resource to help me, right? So um, what I would look at is for nonprofits is not really about selling. It's more about helping people either find support, helping people feel safe, and then helping people understand and share your mission. So I think that's kind of a key difference there. And then when they get to your website, what are those things that are going to make that individual trust you? So that's a big thing nowadays, right? So what we want to do, and especially, because there's so many kind of organizations and AI tools out there, people want to be able to kind of meet that person at the front desk. They want to meet you before they meet you in person. So, when we think about trustable factors, it's are there some stock photos that maybe we can transition to real photos of your team? Are there, let's say, videos introducing your organization and the impact that you have? Are there testimonials from either people that have accessed your services, or if, I understand that certain organizations that might be a little bit more sensitive and private. But on the flip side, if there are, let's say, donors or corporate partners that give to your organization on a continual basis, can we interview them and say, hey, why do you give back to, RSAC, or, whether it's community living or any kind of community organization, why do you give back, right? And I think the more that you can share authentically and really show kind of transparency, those are all trustful things. Um, and then the last thing around, remarkable is, why would someone want to kind of share your story in a positive way, right? So if for a business, that could be, uh, either things you do in the community, it could be kind of uh, you know, corporate or community partners that let's say you volunteer at, things like that. But for nonprofits, it could even be just almost like a life-changing story that people that can really relate to. And I can give you some examples for kind of each of these touch points: the findable, trustable, remarkable. And I'll go through that in a little bit more detail here. But I guess before we get into that, does that make sense for everyone? Does anyone have any questions around that? That's good. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. So Julia was kind enough to give us access to her analytics here. So this website's actually hosted on GoDaddy, which does provide a little bit of insight. It just kind of gives you site traffic. So when we look at kind of digital marketing, we look at, number one, how are people finding you? Where is that traffic source coming from? And then how are they engaging with your site? So I wasn't able to find kind of super specific data through GoDaddy, but if any of you have analytics through Google, you can get more in-depth information. Google Analytics is free. If anyone needs or doesn't have Google Analytics with their corporate, let's say their organization's website, we can walk you through that. Anyone that tries to charge you for this probably shouldn't be charging you for it because it's free. But it gives you a little more insight as to what people are doing on your site. So just in the essence of privacy, I'm not going to pull up any of our client sites here. I'll go through our own StratLab website. But one of the things that we look at first and foremost is the overview. And I usually try to look at kind of a year over year. And this is only one kind of indicator in our overall, digital marketing. I don't tend to look at the data too much in terms of, why are the numbers down? And, do we have to, shift gears right away? You kind of want to look at it from a very, big picture. But if you look at user acquisition, you can see here our number one traffic source is organic search. So this can be people that are typing in things. It could be, digital marketing companies in Regina. It could be StratLab. It could be things like web designers in Regina. All of that gets lumped into organic search. And unfortunately, Google doesn't provide the specific keywords sometimes just because of people's privacy settings. But this still gives us a picture or a snapshot as to kind of what's most important. What's the most important type of traffic? So organic search, and this is pretty much across the board for any of our client websites, is organic search is the number one traffic source. Number two is direct traffic. So that's people that are actually typing in stratlab.ca into the browser. And then referral traffic are links from other websites that link back to yours. And then organic social are basically posting on Facebook or Instagram, and then links back from referral traffic back from those sources. The one major thing that you should look at is average time on site for that user. So organic search generally performs best because these are search terms that people are actively searching for in order to land on your site. So that's why we always try to push organic search traffic or optimizing for organic search. And then when they get to your site, this is what we want to look at. So let's see if we can pages and screens. So this slash here, this is our homepage. So you can see that makes up the majority of our traffic. But below that, these are blog posts. Jeff had wrote a blog post, Final Essay by Steve Jobs. We did an article on parts of a URL. CareCon was our conference, and then it's about us, and then basically blog posts. So when it comes to kind of website content and optimizing for Google, these types of articles, so writing about either things you're doing in the community, even resources, things that either help a user, let's say, answer a question or inspire them or provides either, let's say, entertainment. Just having really good organic content and posting on a regular basis is a really good indicator to both Google as well as chat or AI for when that user is searching for you, right? That's one major shift that we've noticed in the last year. We oftentimes, when a client reaches out to us, we'll ask, "Hey, how did you find us?" And oftentimes they'll say, "Oh, I found you through you did a website for so and so, or Jeff presented in front of our crowd, or something like that." What we're actually starting to hear now is, "Oh, I actually punched into ChatGPT. What would be a local company that can help me in digital marketing?" And so Chat has a certain algorithm that they look at in order to give you that best possible answer. And from a nonprofit perspective, I think that's what we're going to start seeing now is, people are going to start turning to AI to say, okay, let's say what happens if I've experienced domestic violence, or what's the local agency that I should contact if this has happened to me, or things like that. I think people are going to start utilizing chat, and I think we're already seeing that. And so that's why it's becoming more and more important to write to kind of solve for questions rather than let's say keywords or kind of more corporate type of grammar and messaging. Any questions around that? Okay. What I'll do is so that's kind of what that whole findable piece is. Number one, can people find you on Google or chat? And then when they get to your website, is there trust? So when they get to the site, I'm going to go through a few kind of examples of sites here. So again, showing real photos. So people want to be able to see, who are the people behind this organization? or are they kind of hiding behind, let's say, or are they only using, let's say, stock photos, right? So go to Homebase, they've got stock or photos of their team. These are real photos. You can get to know them better. You know, uh, where do you live? What's important to you? Things like that. Um, so that's great to see. Another thing is video content. So people nowadays, they don't like to read a whole lot. They'd rather watch a video. And so Creative City Center here, they've got a great video telling their story about, who they are, what they do, the impact of, you know, um, their kind of influence on the arts community in Regina. Same thing here. Wildflowers, immediately you land on their site and they've got a video explaining kind of what to expect if you were to reach out, right? And so that's a big trend, and big factors when people are because you have to look at it if they're reaching out, they're usually well, they're reaching out because either they need your help or they're in, let's say, a vulnerable state in their life where they don't want to have to poke around and pry for information. They want the information to be very clear, and feel comfortable um, in that process. Ooh, yeah, question. Are there ways to ensure these pop-up videos do not play automatically? Yes. So here's an example of this. So yeah, Creative Study Center, this plays automatically. I think it's muted. But for Wildflowers, it is you have to actually play it. So video, lots of good photos of their team, of their space. You can already start to kind of see what it would like to visit Wildflowers before you even step foot in the door. And then the other piece is around Trustable is this right here. If people can relate to either testimonials or, if you can show them that you've helped however many other people that are in their shoes, people can relate to that. People want to see that. So having a statement like this, guiding over 7,200 clients with care over the past 7 years, and then boom, you've got real photos of their team. You can get to know that person, and you can almost kind of pick and choose as to who you think would be kind of best fit for you. You can read articles that have been written by this particular counselor. Yeah. Here's another example here of Core. Again, real photography. They have logos of the partner organizations. They've got lots of video. If you go to the Who We Are page, we've got tons of videos. You can get to know the leadership team, the frontline supports. You can get to know kind of some of the corporate partners or the people that they work with. Yeah. John Howard Society, another good example of lots of real imagery. Again, people want to see that. Any questions around that? Yeah, see, if I were
just hoping that the next step here is you can take a look at our website and kind of say like where there's some opportunities where we could kind of grow that.
Yeah.
Of course, recognizing that like our organization, because of the confidentiality of the work that we do, might not be able to do some of the other cool stuff going on. I love seeing that though, where like, Creative City Center showed actual like performances, and you can kind of see the people who are part of the core family. I know
Yeah.
that we'll have some limitations here, but I'd love to see some real life examples on our website of changes we can make right now. I am already
Yeah.
seeing many, so.
Well, and Julia, because you are the office manager, I think it would be really beneficial to have you just seeing your smile, like having you on your About Us page to meet the team. Because right now I don't see that, right? I don't see, you know, who, and sure, I totally get there's going to be confidentiality. I think there's ways where we can still share stories without having photos, right? In fact, if we had a page called, stories even, or and I think we want to frame, the messaging around, kind of being more in a positive, hopeful light rather than, anytime, like you can look at it both ways, right? Yes, you can look at, the negativity around, like let's say it's a numbers thing, right? It's like, okay, we have helped, um, let's say hundreds or thousands of people that have experienced sexual violence. Yes, like that's not a very, I guess, like proud number, but I think if we can look at it as like we have helped, X amount of individuals, kind of who have experienced this, and you're not alone. And maybe if we have a stories page where everyone can kind of explain, or maybe share their message of, here's what happened to me. I reached out, and here's how it made me feel, or here's how it impacted my life in a positive way. I think the more that we can share those types of stories, um, it is always good. Kennedy, you had a question?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to see if you could go onto the stories tab, and it's the middle website tab. It had a stories tab. It's not on this website, it was on another website though.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that one. And then it had stories. I was just curious what it looked like.
Yeah, for sure. So this is their blog, right? So they celebrate everything from, inclusive employment. It could be a donation. It could be stories from, let's say, one of their supports. Really anything, and I think that's one thing to really kind of look at, and Sahar kind of touched on this is, what is the message that you're trying to communicate? Your goals are going to change, throughout the year, right? So certain times it's going to be, okay, we really need to focus on like fundraising, right? And so let's write about that. Maybe the story becomes, let's highlight some of the corporate partners that already give money to us and celebrate them and put them on a pedestal. But then the other times it could be, hey, we're hiring, we need supports, or um, we need to fill this role, and in which case that story can become about your culture, right? Here's what we value here. Here's a testimonial from let's say an employee or a team member that's been with us for X amount of years, and how it's impacted their life in a positive way, right? And then sometimes it could be, hey, we want to help more people. It's more of like, let's say, an awareness campaign for those who may not know that we are this resource in Regina that can really help them, right? In which case, okay, maybe those are testimonials or stories from individuals that have accessed services. Does that make sense? I think Wildflowers also does something similar. If you go to resources and then blog, they've got, yeah, um, different topics, different choose. This is the beauty of blogging, or posting on a regular basis is, number one, it builds trust because people will go through this. And as you saw in our own StratLabs website analytics, our second most highest traffic page was a blog post, right? So people care about that stuff. But then number two, it's great for SEO because these are getting archived, and it's a tell to Google that you're posting on a regular basis. Um, and that's one of the factors that they look at when ranking on that front page. Maybe we can go back to the RSAC website here.
I just
Yeah, so
Oh, sorry, I just saw a question about from AIDS Program South Sask and RSAC about grants for web development. And I don't know any off the top of my head. Having said that, I know that the software engineering cohort at the University of Regina does have students kind of like they do similar work to engage learning through NSLI, but they partner with organizations who might need kind of that critical look at their website, what could be updated, what could be changed, and then they can have students that help implement some of those projects or do it as like a master's based project. It's not the same as, of course, having a grant to have some funds to do that work, but just an option that I know is out there. So if you're interested, then send me an email and I can connect you with the professor that I know is doing some of that work in engineering, and then they can see if there's projects that can support organizations, and that would be no cost. So yes.
Yeah, and have you talked to them recently? Because we actually kind of are in the works of forming an agreement with the SSCF.
Yes.
So yeah, as Colleen mentioned, what we're trying to do is to match basically a donor from SSCF to pay for some of the cost, or if not all of the cost, for having students set up websites. And even in our company, what we're looking at is like if you go through most of our sites, and especially in the nonprofit world, what we don't want to do is we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Like we already know that the navigation around about programs, get involved, donate, like we don't really want to deviate from that much because again, people are likely reaching out in the nonprofit world. People are likely reaching out because let's say they're in need, or yeah, like they need help, right? So we don't want to overcomplicate this navigation here. We're kind of looking at, is there potentially like a streamlined service where if you can fill out a little bit about your organization, provide us with the logos and let's say the content, we can almost build like a standardized nonprofit page, and hopefully drive that cost way down. I mean, certainly there's always going to be companies or organizations that need a little bit more customization. Or as an example of that, Homebase we've spent a lot of time with, right? And so they might have the resources to put towards that. But if you're just starting out, let's say for one or two person type of organization, talk to us because if we can reduce that cost and have you spend those resources on, let's say, photography or a video telling your story, things like that, we'd rather you do that rather than spend a huge amount of money on just the website itself. Is there another question in there? No? Okay. Julie, are there things specifically from RSAC that, let's say, questions or, yeah, like I don't want to pick this apart too much, right? But there's certain things, right? If we could have some, let's say, videos or photos, talk about the counseling, talk about the crisis, even talking about the process of what to expect, after you pick up the phone and call. I think anything that can address any type of uncertainty or fear are things that we can post, or even share a video on. That's what kind of would be my my number one recommendation. I think, the website, there's lots of information here. Perhaps we just need to reframe it better in a way that is more consumable, less text heavy, and then obviously showing, just building those trustable pieces around, having real photos and videos of your team.
Thanks, Brandon. That is really helpful, and absolutely, I feel like information is on our website, but sometimes, and part of it is just like the limitations back end with GoDaddy for customization, but part of it is also like, yeah, we just haven't had time to really spend to make things consumable. But I love the information you're giving about like trustability, and even like, yeah, what will it be like when you walk in here for the first time? That is absolutely something that's a challenge for people. We also want to work on finding like a good balance between the trustability and the findability for people who need our services. But something that we really often hear is people don't know about Regina Sexual Assault Center unless they need it. But kind of what we need is people who don't need it but want to support it to also be able to find us, because we can't serve those populations if we are not supported by our community. So is there a balance that you can see here between, being accessible, findable, and trustable to those who need our services, but also appealing to those who may be in a position to support this work?
Yeah, and I think sharing the stories of individuals that have accessed your services, being mindful of like, yeah, we may not be able to shoot a video or have their photo, but I think having a wall or a page of all of these stories, if I'm an outsider and I am able to read those stories, I think um, uh, uh, everyone has a connection, or let's say if you have a son or daughter, like if you can kind of uh, pull on those strings where like, oh yeah, like this could have been my daughter, or this could have been my friend or my mom, like I think sharing those stories is kind of can help both of those goals, right? Both outsiders and people directly accessing your support.
I wonder if if there are any other questions, and then if not, I wonder if there are any other organizations here that might be interested in some feedback. Would that work, Brandon, if we went and like if anyone else has a website that they might want to kind of dive into for some tips or thoughts? Oh, Kennedy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, before we get into that, I just had two questions if either you could answer. One of them was, can you measure say the author's engagement? Say they posted and then they engaged in the comments with the audience and it boosted the post. Is there a way to measure that if like the author of the post engaged in the comments and the views maybe went up or the engagement went up?
Are you relating, or like, is that like around social or on
Yeah,
the
sorry, that
website?
was for the meta
Okay.
piece.
Sorry, so you're asking if there's a way to measure that if somebody comments on your post, the views went up?
Like say the author posted something and then they engage with the people in the comments and then maybe receive more likes or comments. Is there a way
Oh,
to measure that trend or see?
so sorry, I'm just trying to understand your question. So the person who posted, the person is also engaging in the comments with other comments. Is
Yeah.
there a way to measure? Okay. So the fact that the person is already engaging in the comments is already increasing the numbers for interactions, because remember, interactions were your comments, your likes, your shares. So the author actually commenting under his or her own photo is adding up to those numbers as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there was like a measurement that would show if they engage in their comments more than versus not, like if we can measure that still.
I don't think that there's a measurement right now on Meta where you can link if commenting more is leading to more views.
Mm.
But if the algorithm works in a way, if people are liking your content, if people are commenting on the content, it is more likely to get shared to other people. But then again, this is not something that you can actually track on the back end. This is what we hear about the algorithm. If people are liking it, commenting on it, it's more likely to get shared on a wider audience. Whether or not can we track that specifically on the back end, there's no metric for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Brandon,
And
would
then,
you agree?
Sorry, I just had one other question.
Mhm.
Is just if you can measure the live videos as like any other post?
That's an interesting question. You know what? Let me just go in the back end and see, because we've never really done live videos before. Um, but I think you could measure the live videos directly through the Instagram app, because live video, are you talking about live videos on Instagram or Facebook?
Both. I've seen them
Both.
done both. I know like after you've done it, it will show you the activity, but I'm wondering if it shows maybe like peaks of times, maybe people came on, or maybe more people joined a session at a certain time, or
That's a great question. So I think after a live video is done, you have the option to either post it or not, and it's like saved on the platform as well, and you have like the insights after the live video is done. I'm not sure to what extent those insights are, whether you can see when people were there the most, but I can have a look. I can do some research and get back to you as well.
thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no worries. You will get an email from me after this,
Thank
because
you.
that's a very good question.
That's it for me.
awesome, great questions. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions that they'd like to ask our experts while we have them here?
Sorry, Kennedy, can you send your email in the chat, please?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
I had like a quick question. So I noticed from the graph that you showed earlier, where I think on Facebook there was a lower reach to get to the to men, and then on Instagram it was easier for you to reach a higher percentage of men.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a reason behind that? Because then guessing that Facebook has more women than men, or like I just don't know the reason behind that. If you could explain. Like, have you
Yeah.
thought about it or
Honestly, because I deal with so many clients, their demographics look completely different. For sometimes it is more prominently seen by men, whereas other times it's women. But then also we need to, and then even the age groups vary so much. Like, for example, me, I'm a 40-year-old person on Facebook, because when I was 10 years old creating an account for myself, Facebook wouldn't let me because I wasn't over 18. So I lied about it. So I don't think people would lie about their gender, but there is some limitations there in terms of age. But in terms of gender, like I don't see like a pattern if like there's more men on Facebook versus Instagram. It differs from account to account. I hope that answers your question.
yeah, or I also had like behind my head of like maybe men are more reluctant to, you know?
Oh, you saw that the men viewage or the views were down?
Yeah, like very down.
Yeah. So this is a pattern that I do see actually, that women are mostly viewing the content. Um, but again, I don't want to say for sure, because I can only say that if I look at all the analytics and tell you, yes, it is
Yeah.
women. But generally, this is what people say online as well, that it's the women that are viewing the content more than the men.
Was
Maybe.
this made for our SAC as well? Because perhaps the disproportionate amount of women visiting the site is related
Mhm.
to their mission as well. If
Yes.
that's where you saw it, yeah. So maybe Julia, could you speak to the clients that you typically serve? And perhaps it's related to the work that you folks are doing, the reasons that there is such a gender discrepancy in the folks visiting your pages.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say like part of this is really just the communities that are impacted by sexualized violence. And I want to add to that men are absolutely impacted by sexualized violence. Sadly, stigmas and stereotypes in society prevent them from feeling like they have anyone to help them or that they can be helped. So I kind of commented that like Absolutely. Part of this is just like our page, the kind of content that we're sharing, who is disproportionately represented and impacted by sexualized violence and gender-based violence, as well as, those keyword analytics. I mean, you put in, gender-based violence or violence against women, sexual violence. I'm sure that algorithmically that's impacting who is seeing these organically. But I also thought that is a great opportunity to show, like it gives us the opportunity to see areas where we can increase demographic reach and
Mhm.
invite people into the conversation. Particularly with the kind of work that we do, is like we know that we can't solve this work by only talking to those impacted by violence, but also those who tend to perpetuate violence. So I think that what we're seeing, particularly in the RSAC example, it was just the result of the work that we do with the populations that we serve. So it probably looks very different. I would love a direct comparison, for example, of like RSAC and I don't know, something where like, socially and according to some gender biases in society, more men are reaching. I bet you would like totally different. I hope
That's
that helps
good.
answer that question.
That was a really good observation, though. I did notice the same, and I just assumed it was related to the organization. I don't imagine that most organizations have that big of a discrepancy, but that was an excellent observation from your part. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Julia. I see another question in the chat. Are there other tools to measure analytics in other apps like TikTok and LinkedIn? Yes. LinkedIn and TikTok both have their own analytics that you can just go on the apps, go on your page, and you will find an option on the side for analytics and you can view them. Kennedy, does that help? Cameron, I see your hand was up
I
as well.
have a quick question. So we
Mhm.
also use WordPress for our website, and is there any like ideally free resources to help figure out design a little bit more? Like I can kind of figure out how to, add photos in, make the text look nice, but I see other websites that like have really nice transitions and stuff like that. And I would love to copy some of those. I just don't know how or where to even begin with that kind of stuff. So if you have some insight on that,
Cameron, nice to see you.
nice
Um,
to
what's the website you're
um
referring to?
reachinregina.ca.
Okay, I think we had actually started working on. Okay, so it does depend on the way that it's built, right? So and that's the thing with WordPress is everyone's experience can uh, really differ depending on the developer and the template and the plugins that they're using. We basically stick to one template that we can customize everything on, and the reason for that is so that our developers know exactly like basically how to change whatever they want. Um, and so I'd have to look and see kind of what template I'm going through here right now. Um, what template's being used. Looks like it might be custom.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And we have another team of developers, but every time I ask for an editor change, it costs a little bit more. So if it's some stuff I could maybe figure out myself, that would be kind of ideal.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you're not alone, right? And the majority of our clients that come to us for website help, it's very common for them to say, "Hey, it's really difficult for me to update my website, or my current developer charges us a lot of money to do so, and it's really hard. And there's all these plugins that are really tough to maintain. Can you please help me?" That's very common.
Mm.
And so, like, unfortunately, you are going to be a little bit limited, um, just depending on like what plugins and themes are being used. Um, but if you want to show me kind of the back end at some point, I can maybe take a look and see if there's anything that we can do.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll reach out to you in the future.
Cool.
Appreciate that.
our friends
You're welcome.
from APSS. Erin, go ahead.
Hey, I was wondering for other organizations who are like educational and serving like unhoused populations, lower income, that sort of thing. I'm wondering if TikTok is actually even effective for the folks. Like most of the people that come to our needle exchange are unhoused and certainly don't have cell phones and stuff. So I'm wondering, like, yeah. And I'm not very like photogenic. I like TikTok. I like watching it, but I'm not making content. And so I'm wondering if this is something that we need to be exploring, or if it's something that I need to be getting my like social work students and nursing students to take on when they're here for their practicums.
Yeah, I can answer that. So I think
Please.
what I would look at, so if I'm thinking about a TikTok strategy for APSS, I would think about less about the audience being people that are accessing your services and more so the general public, and creating content around reducing the stigma around those like in marginalized populations, right? So if it's content around like, you know, if someone is a user, they have a story, they likely experienced trauma very early on in life or have gone through experiences that perhaps like you don't know about. That may not be seen by, let's say, uh, you know, people accessing services, but it could be seen by the general public so that, let's say, next time, um, I see someone, let's say, in public that might need help. After watching that type of content, I might be more inclined to actually like check in on that person, right? Ask questions or, perhaps even like provide a resource for that individual, right? Like I think there's there's yeah, you kind of have to look at like, okay, maybe we don't actually have to create the content for users, but let's say for the general public or people that might want to support us.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, those are great tips in the chat too for APSS and even continuing the impact, right? So data on the work that, well, again, I revert to the experts, but like not everybody knows and understands needle exchange, the numbers, how many people come in, how many people they serve, just to demonstrate the importance of the work that's happening at APSS. And like Brandon said, reaching the champions of the cause and public education and awareness is so important, particularly around a topic that can have a lot of stigma attached to it, right? So breaking down some of those stigmatized parts of it too. Amazing. Yeah, thanks, Erin. Does anyone else have more questions or thoughts before we kind of wrap up our time together today?
I had one more quick question for Brandon. It's just in regards to those Google Analytics. As you were showing that to us, I was like, wow, I have never heard of this before or seen this, and it is just a wealth of important information. So thank you for that. You mentioned like it's free, but also like you can get some help and support setting it up. What do you think for people who don't have like a lot of web development experience? Like, is it something that we should try and tackle on our own, or should we maybe reach out to you and say like, could you give us a little help getting this set up so that once it's set up properly?
Yeah, so if any of you have the ability, so you'll need a Google account. So whether that's Google Workspace, if you use Google Workspace for your corporate emails, or if you have like a personal Gmail, you'll need to have either of those. And then once you create an account on Analytics, it'll provide you with, it's basically just a small snippet of code that gets added to the header of your website. it can be fairly technical. So I would say if you have a developer that you're already working with, you can provide that little snippet to them and they can place it for you. I don't foresee that costing anything. We wouldn't charge for that. If you Yeah, and really it depends on what platform. So if it's like Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress, etc., there's kind of different ways of adding that. Um, but if any of you have um, access to, let's say, your hosting or your admin, we can look at adding that for you. I think in your GoDaddy account, I'm just gonna quickly look here. They likely have a way of adding the snippet. Um, I would just have to take a look and see what type of. Sometimes GoDaddy will make you pay for like little. They tend to like add on like little prices for like little things like that. So I'd have to see specifically on your website, Julia. But yeah, generally speaking, for any other site, it is helpful, right? Because number one is free, and data is it helps you make informed marketing decisions. So whether it's digital or if it's like, let's say you're running a billboard campaign or radio campaign or even like a mail out or something, it still allows you to see, you know, overall traffic and see what's working and what's not working. That's the beauty of digital, right? Is we can use that information to just, be smarter.
Awesome. Good. Lynn, maybe I can pass it to you in case you have anything else you want to add.
I don't really have anything more to add other than extreme appreciation for this really content-rich presentation, which, just based on the number of questions and interactions that we've had today shows it's a testimony to Strategy Lab and your wonderful ability to communicate with us. And thank you for your generosity in sharing your time with us today. It really is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's great to be a part of this. And if anyone has any questions, as Sahir mentioned, feel free to reach out. We are planning CareCon sometime this spring, so would love to see you all there. And even before then, we've always sometimes we get gets pushed to the back burner. We get too busy, but we always do workshops. And if we were to host a workshop going a little more in depth and kind of hands on with these tools, maybe Colleen or Lynn, if you want to share the list of emails for this Zoom call, we can reach out whenever we do the workshop. Yeah, CareCon is the conference. I think tentatively we're looking at is it May, Sahir? Either May or June. But before that, like we do workshops at Path from time to time, usually every quarter. So
I think Brandon Tara wants to know what CareCon is.
oh
Mm-hmm.
oh, you don't know? I'm just kidding. Yeah, so it's basically a marketing conference specifically for those in nonprofits. So in the past, we've done marketing conferences and invited like guest speakers from like basically corporate. But what we found is a lot of our nonprofit clients and friends just need more help, and so that's why we created the conference specifically just for them.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's great. It's so great. So thank you all for being here, and great to be with you all today and learn, and even in the virtual space, share some time together to connect and support the work that we're doing. And thank you all for the work that you do. Thank you, Brandon and Sahir and Julia, for your time and letting us kind of dive into that work so that we can learn and understand how this might apply to our own organizations. So And thank you, Lynn, for bringing your students as part of the conversation today, and for the students for all your thoughtful feedback and questions. So we really appreciate the chance to connect with you all today, and I hope to see you again soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
It was lovely.